exciting chapter of One Piece, we are a few hours away from the big wedding between Sanji Vinsmoke and Pudding Charlotte. And Big Mom has big plans to turn this into a big massacre. And it all comes to a head in this week's chapter as Luffy and Sanji finally reunite. But let's not forget the most important part of this week's chapter, Frankie building a robot suit for a crab who is being bullied by a monkey. Saying this shit out loud is why I love reviewing One Piece. So yeah, the whole thing with Frankie, that's just the ridiculous cover story in this week's chapter, but the prospect of it is absolutely ridiculous and a lot of fun. Who doesn't want to see a smiling crab pilot a death robot and fight against a monkey that's chucking coconuts? That's just ridiculous. This chapter, on the other hand, was very simple. The first half of the chapter was basically a lot of fluff, with all of the characters trying to figure out, where's Sanji? Where's Luffy? How are we gonna stop this wedding massacre from going down? And apparently Peckoms is going to be just fine, at least according to Pedro, but the last time we saw him, he wasn't exactly doing all that great, so I can't wait to see what's going to happen to everybody's favorite ridiculous sunglasses-wearing lion. The rest of this chapter, however, is mostly just devoted to the Vinsmoke family getting completely shit-faced and wishing that they had better women around, such as Nami, and honestly, who can blame them? But they all go into a drunken stupor and go to bed, not even realizing that they're this close to having their heads on the chopping block. But really, the best scene of this week's chapter has to be the reunion between Luffy and Sanji. It manages to be both emotional and also really funny all at the same time. Probably unintentionally so, but something about a mummified Luffy who's gone on hunger strike is really funny looking in this chapter. Just the way that he's drawn, he looks like this old wrinkled up version of himself, almost like an old man Luffy, and he can barely even talk. And Sanji presents him with this bento box, which is filled with a lot of his favorite treats, and despite the fact that it's been raining and the food is practically destroyed, Luffy could not be happier to eat Sanji's food again, and it really just pumps him right up. And this is when Sanji decides to tell Luffy really what's going down and why he's deciding to stay behind and why the other Straw Hat Pirates should just leave him be. One, he doesn't want anything to happen to his surrogate family, those at the Barati restaurant. He does not want to see his family get completely decimated and destroyed, and he doesn't want to see his friends get hurt as well. And he realizes the only way to basically go through with all of this and ensure that no one's going to get killed, especially his new family, is that he stays behind. But of course, Luffy is not going to let that happen. He literally knocks some sense into him in what is a very satisfying punch, basically something that's been building up since their last confrontation, and Luffy reassures him that, no, I will stand by you no matter what. In fact, I'm going to personally help you wreck this wedding. So what's the rundown on this week's chapter of One Piece? This chapter is definitely defined by the last couple of pages. It's really satisfying, and I'm kind of glad that they got through this event real quickly. This is something that really could have been stretched way too damn thin. I expected there to be a little bit more of a confrontation between Luffy and Sanji, but it does make a little more sense for Luffy basically just to immediately bury the hatchet. This is the way that he handles things, especially those he cares about, especially someone who prepares his damn food. Honestly, I think the one moment of this chapter that got to me the most was when Sanji finally admitted that he wants to go back to the Sunny. He wants to see his friends again and be a family with the Straw Hat Pirates, despite the fact that he does have some obligations to his previous family, even though they're a bunch of douchebags. It really says a lot for Sanji's character, how, despite the fact that he is kind of like just a lovesick puppy, that he's also got a lot of chivalry. And that's really commendable for a character like him, but he still has the tendencies to be incredibly goofy. But it's not wholly unpredictable for Luffy to actually want to help him out. It's exactly something that he would want to do. I also love the way that Luffy, basically words it, how they're going to ruin the wedding together. So clearly this is going to be a ridiculous wedding ceremony, and I'm sure it's going to kick off into some sort of massive confrontation. And honestly, I'm surprised that we're getting there so fast. After the incredibly lengthy Dressrosa arc, I honestly thought this one was going to be just going a lot longer, but no, we're getting right into it, and honestly, I think it's going to be pretty damned exciting. I honestly don't know what's going to happen, and I can't wait to see how Germa 66 is actually going to react to all of this going down. I mean, there is the chance that they're still going to get a chance to maybe even try to kill them, or Luffy and them are just going to bust in and start just tearing up some shit. There's just so many possibilities for this one right here, and that's what's got me so excited to read. Unfortunately, next week's chapter is on break, so we're going to have to wait just a little bit longer before we get there. But I will say this is a great step in the right direction. That being said, to me, this was kind of an okay chapter. The first half was basically just the calm before the storm, which honestly I did like, but still I think it went just a little too far. I would have liked more moments between Luffy and Sanji, maybe a little more finality as to what's going to happen here, because we honestly don't know how Sanji is going to react to this. He might not actually want to go along with Luffy's plan. He might be so hard-headed about this situation that he might end up getting in a fight with Luffy again, but considering how strongly he reacted to actually wanting to go back to the crew, I have a feeling he's going to have no choice but to go along with what Luffy wants to do. So I'm excited to see that go down. All I know is I cannot wait to see how this whole big wedding is going to go. It's going to be bombastic and ridiculous. There's going to be an excuse for just a lot of really creative fights. I just can't wait to see how it's all going to go down, if they're just simply going to destroy everything, grab the Vinsmokes and run, but I just don't think it's going to go that easily, especially with Big Mom there and especially with all of her children. This is just going to result in some sort of massive clusterfuck of ridiculousness, and frankly, I can't wait to see it go down. I loved this week's chapter despite the fact that it was a little slow in the first half. That being said, I loved everything at the end. I loved the ridiculous cover story. The artwork in this week's chapter was really good, especially the old, wrinkled, decrepit Luffy before he decided to just punch Sanji in that one panel, which looked oh so damn good. The Sanji panel, where he was crying too about wanting to go back to the crew, filled with so much emotion. It was awesome, and that's exactly why you should check out this week's chapter, which I'm going to give a 4 out of 5. Check it out, One Piece fans. You might see something you like. If any of you did read this week's chapter of One Piece, make sure to tell me what you thought about it in the comments section below. Did you like this chapter? Did you not like this chapter? What did you think of the next big reunion between Luffy and Sanji? And what do you hope to see from this big, ridiculous wedding? And what you hope to see from the rest of this Big Mom arc? Please tell me in the comments section below. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for all things One Piece related. That's manga and anime reviews. Make sure to leave me a comment or two, and if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, stay dandy, baby.